friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing another round of palettes that survived the cut. I have been looking through my collection trying to figure out what palette I potentially want to bring with me on my honeymoon to Italy, which is a 12-day tour of Italian magic. You guys talked me down into bringing my Lorac Mega Pro 1 palette. It's just not practical to bring that. Plus, it would be a good way for me to test out perhaps a new palette and decide if I might want to pan that one. Because to be honest, I haven't thought a lot about a palette I want to pan in 2020, and I know we're only about a little under halfway through the year, but when I picked the Lorac Mega Pro palette, I had been using it months before I brought it in, and I think that's why I've been so successful with that palette, because I knew it really well. It wasn't like I just randomly picked something and didn't understand how I was liking it. So with that said, there are two palettes in here that I have pulled out that I've really been enjoying coupled alongside my Lorac Mega Pro and have tempted me to want to bring them to Italy and potentially might want to pan one of them. So the first one is my Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. I got this palette, like this was a big palette craze. I feel like this is like the last, in my opinion, Too Faced palette that people were obsessed with. Like I missed out on this when it first came out because at first I was like, oh, I don't want it, and it sold out, and then I saw all these positive reviews, all these makeup tutorials with it, and I was like, ooh, I really want it. And then I bought it when it came out a second time and it sold out again. Like I don't know if that was just manufactured selling out, like they didn't really sell out, or if that was genuine, but I got this palette. I played with it, I don't know, maybe a handful of times and then put it down and found something else. This is what it looks like, and I've just really been liking the fact that with this palette I can stay really neutral with it. Like I can do a basic like light colored lid and a brown crease and just like go about my life, or I can choose to like go deeper and mix and match and do these warmer looks. I've just really been liking it. It still has a faint peach scent. It's not super strong, I would say. The only problem I've had with it is the Bless Her Heart. I tried using that in my crease and it did not go well. So I have actually thought about bringing this with me to Italy. The only reason why I hesitate is because there are a few shades in here I know that I definitely wouldn't use, and that doesn't like kill this palette for me, but I will say if I would definitely get rid of Tempting and Talk Derby to me, because those both have glitter in them and I'm not a fan of that. But overall, I'm liking this palette, and it does pair really well with the shades that I do have in my Lorac Mega Pro. So typically I'll come to this for like a lid color and use a crease shade for my Lorac Pro palette. There have been a couple of times I've used a crease shade in here and a lid color from there, but it's more the first scenario that I tend to grab this, and I'm a really big fan of it, and I'm happy to have rediscovered it in my collection because it was just sort of sitting there hanging around. The second palette that has survived the cut, oh, I laugh at this, is my Lorac Mega Pro 2. And I laugh because of course I'm loving this second massive palette. This is what it looks like in case you haven't seen it recently or unfamiliar. I will definitely say that initially when this came out, I found myself more drawn to this than I did the Lorac Mega Pro 1, but obviously I owned that one first. I think for me, the reason why I'm more drawn to this is there are a lot of what I consider lid looks. I would consider basically these two rows, or sorry, columns. I don't speak Excel very well, but these two columns to me are all lid colors. I would say soft plum, sandstone, olivine, gold leaf. I would probably use all of those on my lid. And if you guys have followed any of my panning projects for shadow, I tend to crush really quickly, really easily, soft, shimmery lid colors. And if this performs like the Lorac Mega Pro 1, then I would definitely say that those are more buttery and you can get through those really quickly compared to their mattes, which are much more hard pressed. But I have been pulling in a lot of these lid looks to go well with, again, any of the crease shades that I currently have in my first Mega Pro palette. I haven't touched a lot of, these colors up here or more in this second row as crease shades, but I definitely feel like if I were to take this to Italy, there are a plethora of looks in here. I could do more dramatic, less dramatic, super easy, like one shadow looks, which I don't really ever do, but could do really easily if I wanted to. Like, this is a pretty palette, and I'm not gonna lie, I have sincerely considered making this my 2020 palette. There are fewer grams in this than there are in the Lorac Mega Pro 1. I did notice that. I have really been paying attention to grams when thinking about a palette for next year, because I basically spent 2 years working on one palette with a lot of product in it. So if I think about what I could get through in a single year, I do pay attention to grams. It feels very like mathematical, and I want you guys to know that's not necessarily like the only thing I'm looking at, but it's just one of the things I'm like thinking about when thinking about a palette for next year. But this might be a contender for Italy, and if I do end up bringing it to Italy and loving it, it might be hard to get me to not want to pan it, which, like, seriously, while we're here talking about it, pro and con, it would be awesome for me to work through another large palette, because then I would be left with a lot of palettes more like this size. But if I'm also conning it, it would probably take me 2 years, and I probably do have other palettes that are a little bit older than this one. So do I want to give myself potentially 2 years to work through this? I also don't know in this palette offhand if there are colors that I would get rid of, or if I would just keep all of them intact. I probably doubt that that would happen, but you never know. So these are 2 palettes that I have rediscovered in my collection that I'm a big fan of, getting a considerable amount of use with while still working on my main panning project for this year. But I'd be curious to know your thoughts on either one of these palettes, and I'll talk to you in the next video real soon. Bye.